Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at Blanton's Gold with a malted man cave. Dustin, tell us a little bit about the Blanton's Gold.
The official
51.3% ABV, shiny horse.
The official bourbon of guys with pop collars, roofies, and got kicked out of their frats. You've ever seen people standing in line and acting like assholes to get bourbon? They were probably after Blanton's. This is the big daddy of them all, the Blanton's Gold. So, story on Blanton's Gold, guys, is for many years this was only sold outside of the U.S. There was like an agreement. Buffalo Trace distills it, but it's only sold. The regular's only one sold in the U.S. The rest gets sold internationally to not compete with the rest of the Buffalo Trace products. These tend to run around the 8-year mark, guys, so a little bit older than the standard. Single barrel as always, and let's get into it.
Keith, thanks for joining us. Harrowing trip over here to Columbus, I heard. Glad you made it.
Glad to be here. Get to drink whiskey for free. Though I brought some tonight.
Spicy.
You got some good stuff here, buddy. Simple.
Spicy, sweet, simple.
Caramel glaze with a lot of flowers in the background behind
A
it.
little floral, yeah.
Yeah, it's really it's simple. It's kind of dull. Caramel's really the kind of the dominant bourbon note. And you're right, there's a bit of spice on the end. This is the higher rye of the Buffalo Trace products, but that's still fairly low in rye.
I get a little cherry and citrus.
I can go with you there, yeah.
I do get a twinge of mint.
Yeah, a little mentholic. Minty
If
note.
anyone's going to pick up mint, it's me.
I'm going to say I don't get any mint here, but okay.
It's there.
None?
Yep, it's there.
No, I mean, when you say mentholic, I mean, I guess in the most simplest of there's a cooling note here, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I get a little bit of oak. It's light. You can tell this is not old whiskey by any stretch. You're right. I do get a hint of the cherry notes. A little of that, cherry cough syrup kind of thing going on now that you mention it.
Maybe like a cherry wood shavings.
But it's just very, very soft, very light. Not a ton going on here. Very easy to nose. The alcohol is super, almost non-existent. And this is 50.1, I believe.
51?
51.5. So, okay, so we're at it's actually a decent little.
It is super faint, but it's a slight root beer barrel note barely in the background.
See that? Yeah.
Slight vanilla cream.
Yep.
Definitely has some good vanilla notes.
A twinge of Mentos, making out with a girl who's a smoker with a Mentos in her mouth.
There's really nothing unpleasant
The
on
fruity kind or the minty kind?
It's a minty kind.
Because the fruity ones I will just eat. I'm not even joking. I'll eat them like Starburst.
And that was the problem Keith had in high school.
I wondered how I gained so much weight.
Yeah,
Those poor ladies.
I mean,
Cannibal Keith.
a bit of a step up from the regular Blantons, but it's a richer.
The richness.
Yeah,
Definitely
it is
does.
It's still thin though. It's not super oily and viscous, is it?
No, but compared to the regular one, I mean,
Yeah,
it is a higher proof. I mean, that really does come off. And it is older.
What is it?
What's
the proof?
So it's 51.5, I believe, is what we just said. So,
ABV? 51.5
yeah,
ABV.
alcohol. So ABV would be 103, which is an odd one.
It's not nothing, but it definitely doesn't feel thick and viscous. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, my point is it's got a little more. The nose, though, it's richer than the regular. And again, the regular one does have some off notes. This has nothing off-putting about it.
Yeah, this is like a very upscale version of the regular.
Yeah.
46% blends.
I mean, if you were going to go out and pay like $60, $70 and you got some of this, like that'd be awesome. I mean, it would be a great bourbon. But I want to know how much you paid for that.
All right, so up front, this is sweet as fuck.
Yeah.
And I don't throw profanity around a lot on the channel. This is absolutely crazy sweet up front. It also, though, Mike, to your point on the rye notes, I don't get a lot of the mint, but it does have a nice spice on the finish.
Yes.
Which
Spice
you
and
really don't get on the standard blends. You almost get like a
superficial
bitterness that's like unpleasant. This is legit quality bourbon spice. Really, you're getting actually a surprisingly good bourbon profile here.
Yeah, I've had the barrel strength ones of this before. I really was impressed. This is absolutely the most flavorful version of blends I've tried.
We've had two straight from the barrels that your buddy Adams brought us, and both I found downright bad.
Yeah.
This is nice.
That was one of my unicorn whiskeys like 4 or 5 years ago when I first started liking bourbon.
Straight from the barrel.
Yeah, and that was so disappointing.
Now, I've heard from some people that there are some really good barrels. Again, this is a single barrel program, blah, 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 blah. The two we've had were bad.
I'm sure you can find a honey barrel straight from the barrel.
You know, I actually won one of those straight from the barrels for him. We went on a particular app, and I signed up for a new group on that app, and I put in $5, I want to say, or $10, and I picked number 4, and number 4 came in.
Nice. I think I remember you telling me that.
I've never won anything for myself, but for him, I was like, man, I called him like, you won't believe it. I won. You lucky bastard.
Yeah, I mean, what's really killing me here is that there's not a old whiskey note here to be found. This is the most. I've always said this. Like, there's youthful, which I think is a bad thing. There's like that's like, oh, it's spirity. It's not a good bourbon.
Agreed.
Young is like most of the core range bourbons today, which are just not old.
It means not aged.
Like they're not. They're 5, 6, 7 years old. There's just nothing there yet. But I've never really had a good term for like middle age because, generally speaking, stuff between 8 to 10 either goes one way or the other. It either tastes older or it tastes younger. This is actually truly like middle-aged bourbon. There's no youth, but there's no older notes at all. And it's really strange.
And it's thin.
It just doesn't turn into that rich, like burnt sugar,
Very superficial.
brown sugar in the middle of a cinnamon roll, like whatever, all that.
I will say, mouthfeel wise, I would say it's medium plus. It's on the plus side of medium. Again, nothing wow here, but it's got a nice little spice note.
Yeah.
It's doing okay.
It's still the best version of Blanton's, but it's still insubstantial, thin.
But good tasting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good, at least you wanting more. It feels like an underachiever.
Yes, I think that's a great way to put it, Mike. This is really good potential bourbon, and it just missed in a lot of ways.
It comes off unsatisfying for what it could be.
You know, what kind of makes me, when I'm drinking this, and I'm wondering in my head is it possible they could take a bunch of these Blanton's Gold barrels and vat them together and make a really good bourbon instead of creating a bunch of bourbons that have, like, this has a really nice sweetness to it? I mean, it really does. This is, like,
It is
super
nice
sweet.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
And I'll be honest, when I first cracked this open, I had to do it. I poured a little taste of this into some Diet Coke because I've always thought Blanton's went with Diet Coke.
Had to do it.
You got to do it, man. Because every Blanton's I've ever had was better with Diet Coke than it was as a bourbon. This one,
Stop.
This one
That's
was
a little outrageous.
every time I've done it, man.
That's a little outrageous.
Every time I've done it, this one is.
I agree. Bland's is overrated for sure, but that's a little.
No.
Hot take.
It actually mixes well with bourbon. This one is terrible with Diet Coke because it's too sweet. It is like unbelievably sweetened. Like it just ruins Diet Coke.
So many aspiring bourbon lovers in America are just going to be so sad if they stumble across this review.
And you know what?
But at least it's the truth.
It's absolutely the truth.
It's the truth.
So again, I was shocked at how sweet this is.
Keith, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it has all those pleasant notes. It has like the caramel. It's got like cherry wood. It had
Way more impressive on the nose than it is on the palate.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, boys, let's get to whiskey score time here. We're going to go Keith through Dustin. So hit it, big guy.
I'm going to give it, I'm at 87, almost 88. We've just had, this is a really good bourbon. So if you haven't had very many bourbons and you taste this, you're going to love this whiskey. But we've had quite a bit of scotch and bourbon and all kinds of whiskey. So for me, 87.
Yeah.
If it was just a little bit more rich and viscous, it could take these amazing sweet flavors and really make it special, but it's not there.
I'm close to Keith. I'm an 86 on this. I agree. The best part about this whiskey is the nose. Very sweet, caramel forward, has a lot of nice things going on. The palate is where it fails me. It's just insubstantial. The palate does not follow the nose profile as far as strength and intensity. It feels very thin on the palate comparatively, but still some redeeming characteristics. All right, whiskey. All right, bourbon. 86 out of 100.
Yeah, so I disagree with Mike on the thinness. I actually think that it's got a nice spice note. I think that's really what the regular Bland's is lacking desperately, is needing some kind of spice. This has a nice little spiciness to it. Up front, that super sweetness. But I just keep coming back to, this is about as generic average as whiskey gets. And, in the world of whiskey, we kind of say a B is average. That's how we've always done it. We don't go to C's. So I'm going to give this the most average B's and call it an 85. It's a very average bourbon that has some really good notes, but it's lacking anything to get it to like special.
It leaves you wanting.
Yeah. So to your question earlier, Keith, this was I got this from the UK. All in, it was about 150.
That's wow.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Not terrible.
And that was with shipping and some exchange rate BS that cost me a little bit. So it was between it would have been like 145 if I hadn't used my
Significantly cheaper than I thought you were going to say.
Yes, and that's why I bought it. I was like, you know what? I've never had gold. I've always wanted to try it, and I know I've had 20 people tell me they'll send me a sample, but I saw it for that price, and I was like, eh. And then there were a couple other bottles I wanted to get that day, Daft Mill, Ardent Merkin, and I was like, I'll just throw it in there. So.
Anyway, those are our thoughts on this particular whiskey. If you guys had a chance to try the Blanton's Gold, let us know what you guys think. Force is shiny.
Yeah.
Dustin, until next time, we wish the folks.
Happy collar popped drinking.
See you next time.